Hello, dear students. Back to Unit 7 and Zoo Animals Escape, Part 2. We're going to start by the learning objectives for lessons 3 and 4. Focus and practice. First, by the end of this lesson, you will be able to express actions that were in progress in the past and learn simple past tense of movement verbs. You're also going to learn how to use the past continuous using when clauses. Focus time. Picture 1, we have a tiger and we have verb run in the infinitive form run and the past simple ran. The tiger ran out of the cage yesterday. Yesterday is the time marker and it shows that this verb happened yesterday in the past. That's why we changed run into ran. Picture 2, we have a panda and the verb walk in the infinitive and walked in the past simple. And the sentence is, the panda walked slowly towards the grass an hour ago. Ago is the time marker and it shows that this action happened in the past. That's why we changed walk into walked. Picture 3, it's an eagle and we have the verb fly and the past tense of fly is flew. The eagle flew up high last week. Last is the time marker that shows that the verb fly happened in the past. That's why we changed it from fly into flew. Picture 4, we have a kangaroo and the verb hop. In the past simple tense, it's hopped. And because there is one vowel before the last consonant, we double the last consonant, which is the P. So we have double P before we add the ED. And the sentence is, the kangaroo hopped slowly on the grass an hour ago. Ago is the time marker that shows that this verb happened in the past. Conjugation of verbs. We have regular verbs and irregular verbs. The regular verbs follow a rule, which is adding ed to the verb. So walk becomes walked, wash, washed, chop, chopped. Why did we double the P? Because we have one vowel before the last consonant, which is the P, so we double the P before we add the ed. Climb, climbed. Hop, hopped. Talk, talked, and watch, watched. If we come to the irregular verbs, they do not follow any rule and they either completely change or they remain as they are. Run, ran. Read, read. Although it has the same spelling, but it has a different pronunciation. Read, read. Feed, fed. Fly, flew. Put, put. No change. That's why it does not follow the rule and it's considered one of the irregular verbs. Take, took, and make, made. Past simple tense. The past simple tense is used for expressing an action that happened and ended in the past, started and ended in the past. He fed the birds yesterday. They took out the rubbish last Monday. What are the key words or the time markers that when we see them, we know that this verb started and ended in the past? Yesterday, ago, an hour ago, a week ago, a month ago, a year ago, once, last, last week, last month, last year, and so on. How do we form the past simple tense? For regular verbs, we have the subject, like he, and the infinitive plus d or ed or ied. It depends upon the ending of the verb. Like wash, we just add ed, so it becomes washed. If a verb ends with an e, we add only d. If the verb ends with a y, we change the y into ied. Here are some examples. Walk, walked. We add ed to most of the regular verbs. Move, this verb ends with an E, so it becomes moved, and that means that we added only a D because there is a final E at the end of the verb. Study, this verb is a regular verb, but it ends with a Y. So what do? We change the Y into IED and it becomes studied. Change the final Y into IED. Play, played. This verb ends with a Y. Why didn't we change the Y into IED? Because there is a vowel before the Y, so we cannot change it into I, or we will have 3 vowels after each other. So we keep the Y as it is because there is a vowel before it, and we just add ED. Chop, chopped. What happened here? Before adding the ED, we doubled the last constant because we have 1 vowel before the final constant. Double the last constant if there is 1 vowel before it. What about the irregular verbs? Run, ran. Fly, flew. Go, went. Come, came. See, saw. All these verbs are irregular verbs that do not follow the rule. What about the negative form? We have the subject plus didn't plus the infinitive. He didn't read the newspaper 2 hours ago. So the affirmative was he read the newspaper 2 hours ago, and when we need to negate it, we change read into didn't read. Didn't plus the infinitive. They didn't chop the vegetables last Friday. Did not plus the infinitive. What about the interrogative form, the yes-no questions? To form a yes-no question, we have did plus subject plus infinitive. Did you take a nap yesterday? Yes, I did. No, I didn't. I watched TV. Now we're going to learn about the past continuous tense. As you remember, in the learning objectives, we said that we're going to learn 2 verbs, how to use the past simple, and we said that the past simple tense expresses an action that started and ended in the past, like I watched TV an hour ago. But the past continuous tense expresses an action that was happening at a certain time in the past. So not only in the past, but we're going to say or mention exactly when. First, we're going to learn the form. I was washing the car. Was washing is the past continuous form of the verb wash. They were talking on the phone. Were talking. So how did we form the past continuous tense? I, he, she, or it plus was plus infinitive plus ing. They, we, you plus were plus infinitive plus ing. So the pronoun plus verb to be in the past simple plus the infinitive plus ing. She was feeding the birds. We were reading the newspaper. And because this is a continuous form, we need to remember some of the notes or rules that the continuous form follows. Continuous means adding ing. So when the verb ends with an E, if we have a final E at the end of the verb, we have to drop this E before adding the ing. So take is taking. Make, making. For the short one-syllable verbs that end with a constant plus the vowel plus constant, we double the last constant. Like what? Like put. Before adding the ing, we double the T. Why? Because we have 1 vowel before the last constant and it's a one-syllable verb. Get, getting. Again, we double the T. Now we're going to learn how to use the past continuous and past simple in the same sentence using the when clause. When we use these 2 tenses together, it shows us that the past simple action happened in the middle of the past continuous action. In other words, while it was in progress. So that means that the past continuous action was taking place and suddenly the past simple action interrupted it. Let's see some examples. When the lion walked by, I was reading a newspaper. So the first action, I was reading a newspaper, when what happened? When suddenly the lion walked by. We were feeding the birds when the parrot flew by. So what was the first action? We were feeding the birds and it took us a long time and suddenly the parrot flew by. What about the WH questions with what? To ask about what someone was doing when another action interrupted him, we use what was he doing when the camel walked by? He was washing the car when the camel walked by. So where is the past continuous tense? Was washing, and this is the long action verb. And what interrupted? The camel walked by. So this is the short action verb, and this is in the past simple. What, was or were, depending upon the subject, plus infinitive, plus ing, plus when, plus subject, plus past simple. So we're asking about the past progressive or the past continuous action that took the long time when another action interrupted it. And the answer would be subject plus was or were plus infinitive plus ing plus when plus subject plus past simple. So again, this is to form the past continuous tense or to ask about the action that was taking place in the past continuous tense. Let's look at this note. Remember to change were you in the question to I was or we were in the answer. What were you doing when the kangaroo hopped by? I was washing the car when the kangaroo hopped by. We were taking out the rubbish when the kangaroo hopped by. So where you is changed either to I if we're talking about a singular pronoun or we if we're talking about a group of people. Checkpoint. Choose the suitable answer. I was my homework when my father came in. I was. So now we need to complete the past continuous form. Was plus infinitive plus ing. So I was doing my homework when my father came in. Number 2, what you doing when the camel walked by? What about the subject or pronoun you? What are we going to use with this pronoun? Where. Why didn't I use was? Because you takes either where or are. So why didn't I choose are? Because this is the past continuous tense. It's formed by verb to be in the past plus the verb plus ing. Number 3, I TV when the panda walked by. Past continuous means, yes, I was watching TV when what happened? When the panda walked by. Number 4, Malik was talking on the phone when the bear did what? He was talking on the phone. That means this is the long action. This is the past continuous. When suddenly the interrupting verb happened, so it's in the past simple tense. So when the bear walked by. Number 5, were you doing when the lion passed by? Which question word do we use? Yes, what were you doing? Number 6, I was the birds when the parrot flew by. Was plus infinitive plus ing, so I was feeding the birds. Number 7, Ali was washing the car when the eagle flew by. Exactly, because this is the when clause that shows what happened, what was Ali doing when the eagle flew by. Number 8, she out the rubbish when the kangaroo hopped by. She was taking out the rubbish when the kangaroo hopped by. Past continuous tense. Now we're going to move to forming some sentences using the past simple and past progressive. Look at the pictures, listen, and point. A. What were you doing when the deer ran by? B. I was talking on the phone when the deer ran by. What was he doing when the panda walked by? He was taking a nap when the panda walked by. What were you doing when the tiger ran by? We were watching TV when the tiger ran by. What was she doing when the kangaroo hopped by? She was taking out the rubbish when the kangaroo hopped by. What were they doing when the lion walked by? They were feeding the birds when the lion walked by. What was he doing when the parrot flew by? He was reading a newspaper when the parrot flew by. What was it doing when the eagle flew by? It was climbing a tree when the eagle flew by. What was she doing when the camel walked by? She was putting on makeup when the camel walked. Now we're going to move to lesson 5, and the learning objectives of the reading time is to read an information sign. Welcome to Cairo Zoo's giant panda home. Bob and Lily are our giant pandas. Bob is 15 years old and Lily is 20 years old. Here are some facts about giant pandas. When giant pandas are born, they weigh 80 to 140 grams. Adults usually weigh 80 to 125 kilos. Giant pandas eat bamboo. They don't hibernate in the winter because they have to eat 8 to 16 kilos of bamboo every day. They eat for 12 to 16 hours daily. Giant pandas walk and run on all 4 legs. They can climb trees and swim. Giant pandas live in the mountains of China. They are endangered. Around 700 to 1,000 pandas are alive today. If we go back to these facts, we see that the giant pandas, when they are born, they are very small. They weigh from 80 to 140 grams only. But when they are adults, when they grow up, they weigh 80 to 125 kilos. So they are heavy and big animals. That's why they are called giant pandas, because they are very big. What do they eat? They eat bamboo. It's a plant. They don't hibernate. What's the meaning of hibernate? It means that they sleep in the winter. Some animals sleep all the winter, but pandas do not hibernate or sleep in the winter. Why? Because they have to eat. They have to eat 8 to 16 kilos of bamboo every day. So they eat from 12 to 16 hours daily. They eat a lot. They walk and run on 4 legs, and they can climb trees and swim. So they can walk, they can run, they can climb trees, and they can swim. Where do they live? They live in the mountains of China. And they are endangered. What's the meaning of endangered? They are in the danger of being extinct. There can be no more pandas. There are very few pandas in the world. That's why we are afraid that they disappear, they vanish. How many pandas are alive today? Around 700 to 1,000 pandas all over the world are alive today. So there are very few pandas and they are endangered. Checkpoint. Read the sentence and write true or false. Number 1. When giant pandas are born, they weigh 80 grams. Yes, we said that they weigh from 80 to 140 grams. So it's true. Number 2. Giant pandas walk and run on 2 legs. No, this is false because we said that they walk and run on all 4 legs. Number 3. Giant pandas live in the mountains of China. Yes, this is true. Number 4. Giant pandas can climb trees, but they can't swim. This is false because we said that they can walk, they can run, they can climb trees, and they can swim. Now read the questions and write the answer. How much do adult pandas weigh? We said when they are born, they weigh from 80 to 140 grams. What about the adult pandas? Adult pandas usually weigh from 80 to 125 kilos. What do giant pandas eat? Remember, we said that they eat a plant called bamboo. Exactly. Giant pandas eat bamboo. Number 3. Why don't giant pandas hibernate? Why don't they sleep in winter? Because they need to eat. They don't hibernate in the winter because they have to eat from 8 to 16 kilos of bamboo every day. The last question, how many giant pandas are alive today? Remember, we said that they are endangered animals because there are very few pandas that live today, and around 700 to 1,000 pandas are alive today. Thank you. By this, we come to the end of our session today, and see you in Unit 8 in kindergarten.